Hey there folks, Recon Trooper here, and as you probably guessed by the title of this video, in this video I am answering your questions. For those tuning in, I made a short video several days ago telling viewers to ask me questions about LEGO Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga. I figured this is my first Q&A, so I figured I'd go with something fairly easy for the first one, and so that's what this is. And it was a short video. Again, it was just me telling people who were watching to, ask me anything they wanted to about LEGO Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga, except for things that nobody knows, like the release date and, other things that nobody knows except for the devs, who have been very silent for, unknown reasons. But anyway, and so this is my answer video now with 3 questions. Also, before we get into it, I am not answering these 3 questions and like first to last. It's really just which one I find to be the easiest to answer first, and then the hardest one to answer will be last. So that's why, if those who ask me the questions, if you're watching this, that's why, your question is first or isn't first, whoever, depending on who it is that's watching. But anyways, without further jibber jabber, let's get into it. So the first question is by Franchise Fanatic. What 3 new features are you most excited for? Well, the first one I would say would be the combat. I'm curious to see how the lightsaber combat is gonna work, especially again, with it. I'm sure everybody knows how in past LEGO games it's always been the same button over and over for lightsaber combat, but in this one it's gonna be kind of a few buttons you have to kind of meddle with to get, do combos and all that kind of stuff with saber characters. And so I'm curious to see, the animations and how the combos themselves will look, like. I'm also curious as to the blocking, because I found in LEGO Star Wars The Force Awakens that the blocking it's not really the same as in the complete Saga, where if a guy shoots at you, you just press the button just in time and then you perfectly deflect it back at the guy. In this one, in Force Awakens, you well, for one thing, I don't know why, but every time I'm swinging a saber around and people are shooting at me, they don't seem to actually shoot me. They shoot in my direction, but not me directly. So I don't ever really deflect lasers back at anybody because they're not hitting me. And the only time they do fire at me is if I'm holding the block button down. And then, of course, when that happens, then I deflect them, but they don't go back at the guy ever. Or at least not all the time. Not as often as I'd like. So I'm curious to see how the blocking will work in this game. And hopefully, characters will be a lot more, actually shooting you. And so you can deflect them a little better. Because, I once in a while do get guys shooting me in Force Awakens, but, and I can deflect them lasers back at them, but it seems to be a very rare thing, because for some reason they're shooting at me, but not shooting me directly, and, I'm just waving this saber around in the air, hoping they would shoot at me while I'm doing it. and they completely miss me, 98% of the time. And so hopefully that'll be a little better in Skywalker Saga. And also on the combat thing, I'm also curious to see how the blaster characters are gonna work, and see if they have, what the reticle is gonna look like when you're, playing as them. Vehicles in Force Awakens all have different reticles, like the when you're flying X-Wings or TIE fighters or whatever. And from those very tiny bits of gameplay that were shown, revealed, leaked, whatever, last year about, with the Lego, that kind of accompanied the Lego sets, they were in some ads. It briefly showed Anakin's starfighter and Grievous's starfighter, and the reticles looked actually pretty cool. And I think they even showed an X-Wing and in there as well. So, the reticles looked cool in those, and so I'm curious to see what the reticles for blaster characters is going to look like. If it's going to be the same reticle for all of them, or if, each character will have their own unique reticle. Like maybe Chewbacca's reticle will be different from Han Solo's, or Stormtrooper from a battle droid or something, And so that's something I'm kind of excited to see and curious about. The next thing would be the space combat. I'm actually curious, as in one of the interviews, 2019, the game director guy that said that, and I quote, "Super Star Destroyer is purchasable in the game as a ship that you can have." And the way he made it sound is that you can actually summon it like a vehicle and fly it. And I'm hoping it's not going to be like a microfighter knockoff, if that's the case, because, to be able to fly a big capital ship in space would be great. And, but I'm curious to see whether that's actually the case, or if he's just saying, like when you can have it as in, you can summon it whenever you want, and then you just go inside and explore it, but you can't actually fly it or anything, which kind of would suck. But, so I don't know honestly what he's talking about there. So I'm hoping that you can fly capital ships, because, who wouldn't? And, if this is to be the biggest Lego game ever, honestly, who wouldn't want to fly a capital ship? I think it'd be cool if you can unlock the Separatist ships from Episode 3, in the beginning there, all the Banking Clan frigate and the Commerce Guild destroyer, and even General Grievous's ship, and then just be able to use them in space. Obviously, you'd probably only be able to use them in the Episode 3 timeline for, continuity reasons and whatnot, but I still think it'd be cool to fly those, and of course the Venator Star Destroyer. So, and especially if you could do that, and then have an enemy ship come out of hyperspace, and then just have kind of like a broadside type firefight go on between your ship and an enemy capital ship, like in Episode 3 after the duel with Dooku. If anybody's not seen Episode 3 yet, sorry to spoil that a little bit, but yeah, I'd love to be able to do that, and if you can do that, I'm definitely excited to see how that works. It'd be great to sort of create your own space battles to a degree by flying your own ship. So, and just seeing kind of all the lasers flying back and forth between the two ships. And and then the third thing, it's not really a new feature, but it is a feature they tend to somewhat improve every game on. And that is, I'm excited to see what the character grid is going to look like. because as everybody I'm sure knows by now, they said that there's going to be 300 unique characters, and I think they said also 200 variants. So that's kind of totaling about 500 unlockable characters / variants. That's kind of 500 character, unlocks right there between characters and variants. So, I'm curious to see what the grid is going to look like as a result of all those characters and variants. And I am hoping that they're gonna make the variants a little more easier to get to. Like in some games, in a lot of games that have variants, like in Force Awakens, for example, when you go to a character that has multiple variants, like, Luke or Rey, you have to press the darn, bumper, or, I don't know, I forget what it's called in PlayStation, but, you have to press those buttons, those bumpers, to siphon through the variants of the character until you get to the one you want. And in older games, obviously, it kind of just changed automatically. You just had to wait until it changed to the next one, which was kind of a nuisance. But yeah, so I think it would be great if they had some sort of like selection screen after you select a character. So like you select the character first, and then it goes to a sort of smaller character grid that just shows all the variants of that character, and then you just select which one you want. And that way you're not having to press the bumpers all the time to get to the one you want, and you're not having to wait for the one to show itself. You just go into, it's kind of like, it's kind of like on a computer where, you go to this PC, go to this document, and then this document, and then finally you get to the thing you're looking for, kind of thing. I think it would be cool if they did that with the character grid, with variants, and, a little off topic, but hey, and so I think it'd be cool to see the character grid and what improvements they've made to it, especially with all those characters and variants, not including the code characters like the Snow Gonk and Darth Vader Christmas sweater, or even the DLC characters. Just the characters, that are already in the game. So, yeah, so those are the 3 things I'm excited for. Character combat, space combat, and the character grid are the 3 things I'm looking forward to the most, I would say. And so, yeah, that's a good question. So, alright. Next question is from Haas. If you had to choose which one of 3, what would you pick that you're most excited for? 1. Space encounters with Imperial Star Destroyers. 2. Force-wielding powers and new ways to engage enemy AI. Or 3. Being able to aim down the sight of the blaster in-game. There's many more, but curious on what you would choose. So, this is a pretty good question. It's kind of similar to the previous one, except he's asking me which, one I am most excited for of these 3 things. And I have to say, probably the space encounters, because as I was saying in the previous question, if you can fly capital ships in space and have, actual ship-to-ship battles, you know, like in episode 3 with, you know, between that Venator and Grievous's flagship. Then, you know, I'd love to be able to do that, you know, to just any era, you know, depending on the era, of course, what ships you're allowed, but, you know, like in, you know, episode 3, being able to do that with, you know, either Republic Venator Star Destroyer or the Separatist, you know, Banking Clan frigates, or the Commerce Guild destroyers, or, of course, you know, Grievous's flagship, the Invisible Hand, and just, you know, engage enemy, you know, other enemy capital ships using them. I think it would just be really cool to see that. To do it, never mind see it, to actually be able to do it as you're flying around in space, and, you know, so, yeah, definitely I'd say the space encounters I'm most excited for of these 3 options, of these 3 features. But still, you know, of course, I'm curious for all of them. You know, I'm curious to see how, you know, how saber wielding characters and Jedi are gonna, you know, how they're gonna move when they attack, and how the combos themselves are gonna look. And also, of course, you know, what the reticle is going to look like. If it's going to be a shared reticle for all of the ranged characters, or if each one is going to have their own unique reticle. I'm curious to see what it looks like when you aim down the sight of the blasters with those characters. But, so, yeah. But, yeah, definitely the space encounters is what I'm most looking forward to. If you know, especially if you can if you can fly capital ships, not just board them and then get off, but actually fly them, you know, and have, you know, broadside engagements with enemy AI ships. You know, I think that would just be great to do. So, good question. So now, third and final question. This is from William Hidden Blade 06, download Ingle. He's got kind of 2 questions in one, but so do you think they will add a battle arena 1 to 4 player mode or online multiplayer in this game? And which game type do you think to be in the Battle Arena online multiplayer mode? Okay, I think what he's asking is, do I think there's going to be a Battle Arena, and if there's going to be 1 to 4 player online mode. I couldn't say. A Battle Arena sounds like it'd be a good idea. I've seen people playing the Clone Wars all the time and playing that one mode where they're just kind of trying to destroy all the Separatist points on a certain map, and they're always driving speeders through battle droids, sending them flying and everything. To be honest, I wouldn't mind seeing something like that in this game. It'd be cool to have, when you've beaten the game, got everybody unlocked and all that, just have something to mess around in, afterwards. And to have, in the Clone Wars, obviously, you're only limited to the clone troopers and the battle droids, And in this game, you could have the Empire, the Rebels, the Resistance, and the First Order as well. And I think it would be cool if they had a mode like that, like the one from Clone Wars, but with those 4 extra factions. And it would be really cool if they allowed you to actually just make your own battles up, like choose which factions fight each other, and like still have the default ones for those who maybe aren't really into the whole customizing your own thing. And it wouldn't ruin canon or anything. It's just people who want to do something of their own, like maybe people are getting bored of just clone troopers versus battle droids, or stormtroopers versus rebels all the time, and want to switch it up and have, battle droids versus stormtroopers or something, like I think it'd be great to be able to do that. And so I can't say for sure, of course, if that's going to be in the game, but from what I've seen in the Clone Wars, it would definitely be an exceptional thing to see if they brought back. As for the 1 to 4 player mode, I'd have to say they're probably not going to do that, because, TT games have always been about 2-player. They've always been about just 2 players together. And, I think, unless there's a Lego game out there that does allow for 4 players, but typically it's just 2 players. And I don't think they're going to change that for this game. In fact, in another interview with the same game director back in 2019, he did say, they always make their games from the ground up to be 2-player. And so, I don't think 1 to 4 players is going to happen, rather, in this game. And online, again, I can't say for sure. It's not really something TT Games, shows any real interest in. They're kind of, TT Games isn't the same as, like, 343 Industries or Treyarch / Activision, or even DICE with their Battlefront games. They're not into the big online multiplayer kind of thing, and like, they've always been about being family friendly with their games. There's been a few exceptions with online, but it's not anything like what people have always been expecting and hoping for every Lego game. And I don't think, I can't be sure, but I don't think they're gonna mess with that bit of their formula either. They're probably just gonna do their usual 2-player couch co-op. And to be honest, and I know I'm probably gonna receive some flack for saying this, but to be honest, I don't personally think this game does need online multiplayer. I think Lego games up to this point have been great without it already. They don't need to add online multiplayer to an already working sort of system, when they make their Lego games. Again, they're not the same as 343 Industries or Activision / Treyarch, who make Halo and Call of Duty games respectively. They don't focus on online multiplayer, they focus on local And, you know, it's worked, you know, it's worked just fine. You know, I don't think they're gonna go messing with that. And, I don't think they need to either. I mean, I know this whole pandemic thing has kind of gotten to everybody's heads at this point, and, you know, people can't legally, so to speak, play, you know, in person with each other. And then, of course, there's people that can't play in person with other people anyway because, you know, they're always online, and the friends they have are online only friends. But, you know, I don't think they need to do online with this game. It just, you know, Lego games have been just fine without online thrown into the mix of all their game features and everything. And so, you know, it just, you know, doesn't seem necessary to me. And like I said, I know I'm gonna receive a lot of flack for saying that, because I know a lot of people, you know, are dying to have online multiplayer in this game, being the biggest Lego game, biggest Star Wars game, up to date, and all that. But, you know, it really doesn't seem necessary to me, is all. And, also, too, you know, I'm not an online person. I mean, I've made exceptions in the past when it comes down to something that I really want, but I can only get online. Like in Black Ops 2, a couple years ago, I wanted to get some more gold camos for some more weapons, but of course I had to play online to do that. But overall, I'm not much of an online person, and I just, you know, the only way I'd play online on this game, if it has it, is if there's achievements that are only for online, which I am kind of hoping there is not. Actually, I'm really hoping there is not, because I really don't like having online-only achievements for a Lego game. You know, the complete Saga was a pain trying to get that one achievement, because every time I was paired with somebody, they would always leave, and then I'd have to, you know, have the network search thing, find another person to play with, you know, and I kind of did that for about several people anyway, before finally getting somebody who was actually sticking around to finish the game with me. So, or finish the level with me. So, you know, so, yeah, personally, I don't think the game needs online. I think it'll do just fine without it. Besides, with all these new features and stuff, if people think they're gonna get bored because there's no online, then, you know, I don't know what to say about that, because, you know, with all these new features and stuff, this game doesn't sound like it's gonna be too easy to get bored from, you know, after a while. And so, but, you know, so, but that's just my opinion, you know. I don't know for sure if they're gonna have it or not, and, you know, we'll have to wait and see until they, you know, announce it whenever they decide to. But yeah, so personally, I don't think it needs online. I don't think it's gonna have 4-player multiplayer. It's probably gonna still have 2, like all Lego games before it that I know of. And you know, I don't know if it will have the battle arena. If that is in fact what the thing that I think you were talking about, William Hiddenblade. and it's the thing from the Lego Clone Wars game. I do think that would be actually a pretty cool thing to have, massive battles, and especially if it's if there's some customization to it, like being able to choose which factions you have fight each other, and what units from that faction you want to have spawn. Like maybe when you select the First Order, instead of having just stormtroopers, you could have Sith troopers, the red guys from Rise of Skywalker. Have some Sith troopers instead of stormtroopers. Or if you're playing as the clone troopers, to be able to have, maybe if you don't want to just have plain white clone troopers from the episode 2, you could have, the kind of the scout trooper clones from Kashyyyk. Have a battalion of them show up instead. So, I think that would be cool if they had that in the game. So, but, yeah, so just to review, I don't think they are going to have 1 to 4 players in this game. It's probably still going to be 1 to 2 players. I think it would be cool if they had a battle arena, like in the Clone Wars. Even just like a dual mode, like in the complete Saga, would be cool too. Have both of them, then you could have a one-on-one fight with, the second player, assuming you have one. Or just do a massive ground battle against a bunch of computer-controlled enemies, And lastly, as much as I know a lot of people want online in this game, but I personally just don't find it necessary. There's so much going into this game that they've never done before, and especially being people that aren't into the online thing in the first place, that would just add a little more pressure onto their already highly pressurized game, getting all this other stuff in there. And, Lego games, again, have worked out just fine without online multiplayer, And I know, again, the pandemic has kind of made things a bit difficult, but, because of all the social distancing required, and I do personally find that kind of dumb, but, can't. The only thing that'll change the government's minds is, a dose of reality, but that's, that happens when it decides, I guess. But, but yeah, still good questions, and, I'm sorry for having for seeming to have such an anti-online perspective. I just, I'm not an online person, and I don't personally find it necessary to have online in this game, especially with all the other Lego games not having it either. And Lego games, again, working just fine without it being a feature. So, but that's how I just feel about it. If they put it in, there's not much I can do about it, But, so, but again, I don't think people are going to get bored of this game that easily, all because of the lack of online, if there is no online. Because, with all this stuff, the space battles and the, updated combat systems and, the open world. I mean, you really think you're going to get bored in the open world when there's 23, planets and moons? Plus all the ships that you can explore the insides of, as well as, you know, several of those planets and moons will have multiple locations to them. Like Tatooine will have Mos Espa, Mos Eisley, and also probably the homestead where Luke and his aunt and uncle lived. You know, and probably also Ben Kenobi's hut. That'll probably be in there. So, you know, like all that stuff to explore and do. I don't see boredom being that quick to kick in. So, but anyway, so good question, and so again, thanks for the questions, guys, and it was nice to have at least 3 questions. Kind of surprised that I had over 100 views, but only 3, but hey, you know, 3 questions was clearly more than enough for this video with all my constant talking. So, but yeah, so, you know, if you liked this video, and then feel free to, you know, drop a like and comment on what your thoughts are. And, you know, I know I'm probably gonna get in a bunch of trouble for all that stuff I was saying about the online, but you know what? That's how I feel about it, and nobody can change my mind about it. You know, it's like somebody that just doesn't like broccoli. You know, they're not allergic to it, they just don't like it. You know, it's not like they'll eat it if they have to. Like, just like me, I'll play online if I have to, just to get something I'm trying to, you know, I'm aiming for, but overall don't like it. You know, I'm not a fan. So, you know, it's kind of like that. You know, like online is kind of my broccoli, so to speak, when it comes to video games. And, you know, but yeah, if it doesn't bother you, then great. You know, like, I'm not trying to insult people about it. I'm just giving my perspective on it is all. So anyway, so yeah, like I said, drop a like and leave a comment. Let me know what your thoughts are. So anyway, so yeah, this is Recon Trooper signing out now. Later.